Guys, we have a huge opportunity today to sit down with Tom Mahon. Spent 28 years in PSTI, MRO software, IBM, and fortunately we have him at Banetti now. And Tom has an incredible understanding of the application suite, Maximo historically, where it's going, and why it actually fits anything from a small to a large organization, and how to generate your return on investment out of the platform. And when we combine that with what Banetti has been doing for the past 20 years in terms of providing that ultimate concierge service to you to ensure that you have the best experience possible, these two things together are what make us successful and what make you successful. So look forward to your comments and thoughts on this, but let's talk to Tom and see what he has to say.
You know, one thing, Matt, that I'm really concerned about, we got a lot of customers and we have a lot of potential for customers that are really small organizations. And let's be candid, when you look at Maximo, and in particular the Maximo application suite, it's enormous. It has all the capability in the market that you can dream of. For 25 years now, it's been the market leader, and that's based on our vision and clarity of where the product is going and all of its features and functions and what have you. And you get a guy who's got, you know, maybe 10 technicians, and he looks at it and he says, that's just overwhelming. That's more than I need. I even get afraid sometimes to demonstrate the work order screen because it's got so much content for the guy who's really just trying to manage something pretty small and simple.
One size fits nobody.
Yeah, that's the way Maximo is. But I think what's important for people to understand is that Maximo truly is scalable, not just up to 3,000 concurrent users, but also down. And one of the key things I'm looking at is these SaaS offerings from IBM to address that, so that we can get a very affordable solution that doesn't have to implement the entirety of the application suite. We can just focus on what somebody needs to do their job. So we're working with a customer right now that we literally are expecting, once the environment gets stood up by IBM, it's going to be maybe 3 weeks before we have an up and operable system that supports their business needs in the primary plant they're going to work with. And then over time, it's growable, scalable, whatever you want to call it, to where they can add in 15 more operating plants. But we don't have to start out with the Maximo application suite. We can narrow it down to just what this customer needs. What have you seen like that? What's your opinion? I know we all want to get rich selling to great big companies, but at the end of the day, there's even higher potential business value in a lot of these smaller customers.
The things that are coming right now, kind of stream of consciousness. One is I'm on premises. I'm on premise, right? What's that look like? Am I going to cloud, or am I going to try and do an on premise for the application? That's one aspect. The conversion to app points. Am I going to get killed? These things seem like they're more expensive. That's another question. What does it take to implement this? Everything else, generally speaking, when we look at enterprise software, there have always been some rough numbers, right? Services implementation is a multiple of your license cost, right? Now, SaaS is different than on-prem, but there are some rough numbers. And I think what I'm hearing underneath all of this is that it might not be as expensive as you think it is, especially if you are in a position to grow your usage and show some ROI.
I think there's multiple facets to that. First off, for existing customers, yes, they're looking at the application suite. They're running on a Windows server. They've been using SQL Server successfully for 10, 15 years. They see this Linux. We don't have Linux in our IT. They see Red Hat OpenShift. They see all of this technology, and it's overwhelming. Let's just call it that. SaaS is the answer. We'll talk more on that later, but SaaS is the answer. Let IBM take care of all of that stuff. Let me just log in and just do what I need. App points. There's two ways to look at app points. There's SaaS app points, and there's the license conversion for your legacy licenses to go to app points. We might actually be able to show you we can save money on what you're paying for your existing licenses by going to SaaS. So let us help research that. But we can then remove all of those costs of deploying the application and just focus on what you need to run your business.
Just to clarify what I heard, sorry, interrupting you, but there's a chance because of the way app points work versus traditional Maximo licenses, even on smaller installs, someone might save based upon their usage context. Like, am I a 24/7 facility? How many authorized or whatever? You could be looking at a savings, even though the app point user theoretically is more expensive.
Right.
Could end up being cheaper.
Many customers are over licensed.
Wow.
And IBM has been very generous in how they give you license capacity by moving to app points. If we can recalibrate that, we might be in a much better position. That's a key part for the existing customers. Now, to flip over to the new customers, when you put together your list of requirements and you see what Maximo does, it may be a mismatch. Maximo's enormous. Okay, well, we can implement a small Maximo too. Maximo Essentials. Let's just work on the things that you need to do your job and price the software and the support services accordingly. So we don't have to go... Pay for what you get? Pay for what you get. And we don't have to go to a multi-$100,000 implementation project to get it configured. We've got guys that have all the checklists, that know what to put in there, that can get you started. We have templates for loading your assets, for loading your PMs, and we can accelerate that process and make it very cost effective for new customers.
Interrupting you again. Pay for what you get. I start off small. How have I inhibited my ability to grow into the broader application suite when I start off small?
How much money do you want to spend? As you grow, it's going to cost more. As you require more resources to use more capability to support more users, that will grow. But it doesn't grow linearly. You have an upfront cost that gets you started, but then it grows at a slower pace because you've already buried that upfront cost in setting up your infrastructure. So we can move you from an essentials, simple model to a standard model, which is very robust, covers most mid-sized to large companies. We can go to a custom support model that has tremendous flexibility, can support hundreds or thousands of users. We can go to a full-on managed service where your licenses are managed by IBM, and we have the flexibility all the way through that process. Your data, your processes, your configurations, and everything else you've done stay with you. They grow and expand as you grow and expand, but we don't have to move to a different system, re-architect, convert data, import it into a different environment. It's all the same code base for Maximo and the entire application suite. We're just using more and more of it more effectively to add value for our organization.
I'm not necessarily being penalized for being small.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Because in the old on-premise paradigm, there was a penalty for being small.
Right. You paid extra for the licenses, and you had to manage the entire infrastructure yourself.
Yeah, because I'd have to have my DBA, I had to have my Maximo admin, and let's say more or less that was a fixed cost. It didn't matter if I had 10 users or 1,000 users. That was, somewhere in there. The cost was the same up to a certain number of users, right?
Right.
Okay, that makes sense. So the math changes. My spreadsheet changes how I'm calculating the return on my investment with the application suite versus my current 7.6, 7.x model.
Correct. It does change it significantly. The way I like to describe the SaaS is IBM's responsible everything from the wall outlet to the login screen. And that's not just the software, it's also your continuity of operations. your security, your backups, your restore, your migration of environments from production to lower tiers. All of those things are built into a single offering that your IT staff no longer has to worry about. You just worry about how we get better value out of this software.
So if I'm a smaller customer, I don't know, I mean, it could be anywhere from 5 to probably 50 users, calling it smaller, right?
Yep.
And traditionally, we're just kind of slogging through work order management, maybe do some spare parts, probably focused on on-time PMs,
Yep.
right? I can move without breaking the bank, and now I have. Now I know I'm expanding on what you just said, right? But because I get into the application suite, then as we mature, I'll be able to turn on that monitor health, predict, the visual inspection, and now Tririga's coming in, Control Desk. I've already paid for that common platform.
Right.
I can start adding all this other stuff on as I grow.
Right.
And if I do that, theoretically, my ROI...
It better improve. There has to be a business case for doing that. So there has to be an ROI, but you're not forced to do that because you started out where you are today. You start out where you are today. Let's get you moved across. Let's get you upgraded. Let's keep you current from a security, version currency, and all these other issues. And then when you're ready to grow, the system is ready to grow with you.
So if I'm going to spend $100,000 converting my data to an alternate SaaS platform, it's worth a conversation to understand, how do I put that money into the application suite? Because I probably have more runway to see a return on investment if I can convince my business, my management, oftentimes, right, to look at this platform as an opportunity for us to improve our overall operations.
Correct. And when you look at those costs and ROI, don't forget the cost of change for your people. Your users are familiar with the product, with the user interface. That hasn't changed. The UI's got a new look and feel to it, but it's all the same fields. It's all the same data, the same processes. And that alone justifies the cost of staying with Maximo.
Mobile. I hear that, and immediately I think mobile. You and I have been in this for 30 years, right?
Right.
So we saw mobile that was it was the size of a UPS tablet back in the day. It looked like a big calculator, right? Every iteration of mobile. Mobile today seems to be a much more user-friendly product. I guess I would say there's the mobile traditionally did a great job of capturing the data that was necessary, and that's important. Mobile that works the way the technician works is a very different thing. And I feel like, and I'm not on that front line anymore, but what I'm hearing is that IBM has re-architected this, rebuilt it, and we finally have a mobile product with the application suite that, if I can't say it works with the technician. It works the way they work. It actually augments them during their business day. It helps them. How far off a basis am I here?
No, that's very true. There's new technology being introduced into the mobile to assist, to look up. The AI capabilities of Watson are being exposed with the mobile. How do I find out more information, the correct information? I'm not going to just go to Google and search. I'm going to actually do an intelligent search based on the asset I'm working on, based on the model number, the serial number if necessary, to actually hone in on the documents that I have internally that Google can't see. Let's look there first, and then make sure that if I am looking outside of my own data stores, I'm looking at the right data. That's what mobile is now bringing to the table. That wasn't there before. It's moving to another level. The other thing I would say about mobile is it's no longer a nice to have add-on. Everybody's got a phone in their pocket. Everybody expects to interface with every business they talk to on their phone. Well, no different with Maximo. IBM recognizes that, and if you look carefully at the licensing model for the application suite, they basically threw mobile in with it. So we don't have to pay a big uplift to add mobile to our environment. We don't have to pay software maintenance to some third-party firm that makes this neat little mobile application. IBM just threw it in and said, we're done debating whether or not this has to be added to Maximo. It's just essential for our user base. Let's just put it in a product.
All right, top line, first off, anybody who hasn't been on an application suite, they're not paying for mobile anymore?
That's right.
Okay, second thing, and actually, you and I worked on a project years ago together for the Veterans Affairs, and that project lead said something that was very impactful at the time to me. And he said, in order for us to compete for the best young people coming into the workforce, we have to give them mobile.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And what I'm hearing is that the product that actually works for that person is out there today.
That's it. That's what IBM's after. IBM recognizes that too. That's why they've now rejiggered the license agreement to say it's included. So if a user has a login to Maximo, it doesn't cost any more for them to be using mobile.
Okay, so
make it work.
Wrapping it up a little bit. There's a guy over there on the camera who's yelling at me. I don't know if you saw him. I saw him, right? And at the end of the day, there are two factors. What's it going to cost me now? What's it going to benefit me later, right? And everyone has to do that. We all have to do that deal math, both sides. It sounds like we have an ability to really control that cost today, so you're not experiencing a huge hit while giving you the opportunity to see a lot of improvement in the future.
Absolutely. That's what we need to focus on.
Any tools that we need to talk about that help us do that? I know a lot, you and I have talked a lot about business value assessment. Is that a key thing? When does that apply? You know, how do we help customers really figure out where they stand?
We've got some pretty simple tools that can look at what actually is your total cost of ownership. If customers only going to focus on their license costs, we're not going to get anywhere. They're not going to be happy. We're not going to make anything. If we look at the cost to manage, administer, operate, do the compute resources, and how we're going to rejigger those costs and how we're going to restructure the total cost, how we can change the licensing model to where it's appropriately sized for where they are today, we can look at all those factors. It's not particularly hard. We just need to be thorough in looking at them and honest on what they cost and what the value is that they bring. And that will give us a reset of the platform, and then we can start looking at growth from there. And we don't want to be on a platform that's running out of support in the near term. And our IT shop sure as heck doesn't want to be running a software that doesn't get security updates. So let's get upgraded.
So I'm hearing, if you plan on being around for the next 20 years, competitive in your industry, don't look at a pure license cost.
Absolutely.
On the Maximo side as your decision-making factor, because there's a lot more coming. There's a lot more in it right now, and a lot more opportunity to help your business improve, which will help you be more competitive in your industry over those next 20 years.
That's the goal. We want to make our customers better at what they do.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.